obviously this is, you know, such a difficult situation, isn't it? Peter, you think, though, that they should draw a line under it from this point forwards?
There has to be a point when they say, you know what, we've got to put this file in the too difficult tray because, quite frankly, we're unable to solve it. And I would say, when is that decision going to be taken? How much more money has to be ploughed into this? Are there still live investigative threads that are going to potentially lead to some kind of resolution 11 years on? I doubt it. We've got a spiralling crime wave in our own country. We've got a large number of missing person inquiries and unsolved murders, and people are contacting me and they're saying, shouldn't these resources be applied to those cases?
But there could be a little girl, you know, we just don't know what's happened to Madeleine, do we? She could still be out there waiting to be found.
Maybe. I think, personally, the chances of her ever being found alive are remote in the extreme. But the Metropolitan Police have been all over this inquiry since 2013. And before that, of course, the Portuguese police had their go at it, private investigators had had a go, and Leicestershire Police had some input into this inquiry.
We're searching for a child. And if it was my child, I would always be, let's keep going until all the leads are exhausted. And that's what we've got to do. I mean, put this in perspective, is that what we're talking about is a tiny fraction of 1% of the entire Met Police budget has been expended on this. And it's not even the Met's money, it's the Home Office's money. And every time that the police want more money, they've got to go back and say, this is why we need more money, and this is why we need to continue.
So if they're requesting more money, that would imply to you that there are further leads that they need to...
You've got to justify. It's not an open-ended checkbook, which is what some people are suggesting. It's simply not. And somebody knows what's happened to this child, and that's what we need to do. Now, at some stage, of course, we're going to come to an end where there are no leads to follow, and that's a natural finish. That's where the investigation should finish. But we can't measure how good or bad an investigation is based on how much money it's cost. Good investigations cost money, and it is that simple.
Peter, how are these decisions made as to, you know, which ones the money is put into? Because the criticism has always been that, you know, this money, this large amount of money has been put into Madeleine McCann, but not all investigations of this nature get this type of funding, do they? Why is it that some cases do and some cases don't?
Well, that's a very good question. Of course, victims' families are often asking that because they're saying, how come this case garners so much airtime, so many column inches? What we do know, of course, is that the police will respond to media pressure. If a victim's family gets a lot of airtime, gets headlines, gets coverage, then the police find it extremely difficult to be able to resist that pressure from the media.
So you don't think it might be down to the fact that they, you know, could have these leads that could take them on to somewhere new?
If I was sitting in the Home Office this morning and I was holding the purse strings, I would be saying to whoever it was from the Met Police that's coming to me for yet more money, I'd be saying, you've been across this since 2013. Why, 5 years later and 11 years since her disappearance, has not every I been dotted and every T been crossed? How much longer do you want?
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved in investigations which have lasted 7 and 10 years. Good investigations take a long time, and this is particularly complicated by the fact that what they started off with is nothing, and they've done a cell dump to get all of the telephones of everyone that was in the area. Those go to 30 different countries, and the difficulty of then going to those countries and getting that evidence back takes a long time, and it does cost money. You know, the telephone providers don't do it for nothing. They cost thousands of thousands.
So isn't the point as well, Peter, that £12 million has been spent, all those man-hours, this has been a huge investigation. To draw a line on it and just say, and back off, is to say, do you know what, that's not being solved. Why not keep going? Why not just keep searching, keep trying?
How much more is there to do, and why hasn't it been done already?
That's a big decision, a difficult decision to make as well, though, isn't it, when you're talking about a family and a small child?
Yes, but there are other cases equally as deserving of police resources and time and efforts, and people from those victims, of those families, are coming to me and they're saying, you know, why don't we get this coverage? Why don't we get these resources? And I feel for them.
But that's not the McCann's fault, is it? I mean, that is not Madeleine's mum and dad's fault and their family's fault. The fact that this case has caught the public's sort of consciousness and has been in the news and has generated the information and the interest, which means maybe there's more pressure on the police, that's not their fault.
A large amount of money was raised way back in the early days, which was at the McCann's disposal to use as they saw fit. and they in fact started and had their own media machine, all of their very own, the likes of which so many people who have lost children either to murder or have gone missing just simply could not have. So there is an element perhaps of people thinking, if only we'd had those resources, if only we could have got these headlines, then maybe there would have been some kind of justice for their loved ones.
I mean, David, do you think, you know, it's been a different set of circumstances here with Madeleine McCann, hasn't it? Because it happened abroad, because of the way the investigation was carried out initially, that actually, you know, police have had some catching up to do.
Yeah, and they have an awful lot of catching up. But the other way to look at this as well is not simply about how much money it's costing just in this case, but if she had been abducted, then we need to catch whoever that was, because it's going to happen again. That will happen again if she's been abducted. And however much money we spend on this case, we save on the next case if we catch that person. And that's where we need to be looking. It's not simply about the pound value of this case at all.